In October of 2022, a 35-year-old man named Adam Heller returned from a camping trip in North Dakota, shaken and alone. He had left 2 days earlier with his younger brother and 2 of his brother's friends for a weekend of fishing at Whitecap Reservoir, a remote, man-made body of water tucked near the Canadian border. Adam made it back. The others didn't. When he showed up at a local ranger station on the evening of October 23rd, his clothes were torn, he was dehydrated, and he didn't have his phone or any gear. He said the car battery had died, that they got lost, that something had happened out there. His story didn't explain everything. It was disjointed, inconsistent at times. He hadn't slept. He kept looking over his shoulder like someone was behind him. He gave a statement to the authorities the next morning. This is what he told the authorities. We left Fargo around 11 on Friday morning. It was my brother Daniel's idea to do the trip. He kept saying we needed one last weekend before the weather turned. Just us guys. He brought his buddies, Marco and Ryan, who I'd met before but didn't know well. They were both younger than me, maybe late 20s. Loud, dumb in that casual way young guys are. I didn't want to go, honestly, but Daniel guilt-tripped me. Said he'd take care of everything. Gear, food, permits. The drive-up was uneventful. Cold, grey skies. That sort of pale overcast that never really breaks. We stopped for gas and snacks in Grand Forks. I remember Marco bought an entire rotisserie chicken at the gas station, which made the whole car smell like grease. We joked about it at first, but it got old quick. We got to the reservoir around 3 p.m. It was more remote than I expected. The road in was gravel and narrowed to a rough trail. No other vehicles parked nearby. The lot was just a dirt patch with a faded wooden sign that read, Whitecap Wildlife Access. We hiked in about a half mile to a clearing just off the lake. Quiet place. Trees were mostly bare, wind coming off the water. It was colder than forecasted. We set up 2 tents, one for me and Daniel, one for Ryan and Marco. They started drinking right away, cheap beer from a cooler they dragged in with a bungee cord. I didn't drink. I set up the propane stove, sorted our food, and made instant chili. That night we sat around a fire Daniel had made out of wet branches and whatever dry stuff we could find. The lake was pitch black, no moon. We talked a little, but mostly they just messed with each other. Ryan said he thought he saw something across the water, but we laughed it off. Said it was probably a deer. I was the first to go to bed. Brushed my teeth with bottled water behind a tree and climbed into the tent. I left my boots inside the vestibule. The tent walls flapped from the wind. I was almost asleep when I heard what I thought was footsteps. Slow, crunching ones, right outside. I figured it was Marco taking a piss or just stumbling around. I didn't think much of it. Next morning, we made instant coffee and oatmeal. Marco was already up and sitting near the fire pit. He had his earbuds in. I asked if he walked around last night and he said no, he was out cold. Said he had weird dreams though. Said he thought he woke up in the lake. He was laughing when he said it. We fished for a few hours that morning. Didn't catch anything. The water was still flat like a mirror. Too quiet. I remember thinking that. It was too quiet, like the kind of quiet that makes your ears ring. Ryan dropped his pole into the water and had to wade in up to his waist to grab it. When he came out, he kept saying the water was warm, like bath water. I touched it. It wasn't warm at all. It was freezing. We started arguing around lunchtime. Ryan wanted to go deeper into the tree line to find better firewood. Marco was already drunk and wanted to build a lean-to for some reason. Daniel tried to keep everyone calm, but it wasn't working. I offered to cook. I boiled some instant noodles and made tuna packets. I noticed then that my pack had a weird wet patch on the bottom. It smelled metallic, not like lake water, more like blood. But there was nothing sharp inside, no leaks. I left it outside for a bit. That evening we built a bigger fire. Ryan passed around a bottle of liquor. The cold was worse than the night before. Wind gusts were stronger, kept blowing smoke in our eyes. Everyone seemed a little off. Daniel stared at the water for long periods of time, and Marco kept asking if any of us heard music. When I went to take a leak behind the trees, I felt watched. Like, really watched. Like someone actually standing behind me. I turned around. Nothing, of course. When I came back, the group was quiet. They said they thought they saw someone across the lake again. We turned off all our headlamps to see better. I saw it too. A figure, waist deep in the water, completely still, arms at its sides. No flashlight, no movement, just standing there. We stared at it for maybe 30 seconds. Then it just wasn't there anymore. Nobody saw it move. It just disappeared in the blink of an eye. Ryan said maybe it was a reflection or a tree stump. Daniel looked pale but said nothing. Marco had gone quiet. That was weird. He'd been the loudest one all day. I went to bed first again. I kept my boots inside the tent this time. Slept with a folding knife in my sleeping bag just in case. The wind hadn't let up. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to a noise. Not footsteps this time. Breathing. Heavy, wet breathing right outside the tent. Low and deliberate. It didn't move. It just stayed in one place for a while. Long enough that I held my breath to listen. I wanted to call out but couldn't. I don't know why. I didn't move until it stopped. Next morning I checked around the tent. No footprints, nothing disturbed. I told Daniel. He didn't say anything, just looked toward the lake. Marco was gone. His boots were by the fire pit. His coat was inside the tent. Phone was cracked, lying face down on the hood of the car. Tent looked slept in, zipped up. Inside it was damp, like someone had been sweating through the night. There was even condensation on the fabric walls, as if someone had been breathing heavily for hours. We called for him, yelled into the woods, walked a few hundred yards in every direction, found nothing. Ryan started panicking, accused me of doing something, of taking things too far, said I was the only one not drinking, the only one who didn't want to come. Daniel tried to calm him down. We didn't want to split up, so we packed up some gear and sat by the fire, waiting, hoping maybe Marco would come stumbling out of the trees, hungover and laughing. He didn't. The wind picked up again. This time it came straight off the lake, cold and sharp. It whistled through the trees. Ryan said he heard whispering in it. I didn't, but Daniel just stared at the water like he was trying to hear something. We made dinner in silence. Spam and rice on the propane stove. No one touched it. That night, I stayed up, sat outside the tent with a flashlight and the knife in my lap. Around midnight, Ryan left his tent without saying anything. He walked toward the lake barefoot, just his long underwear and a blank look. I called his name. He didn't answer, just kept walking. I ran up and grabbed his arm. He turned and looked at me like he didn't recognize me. Then he smiled. Not a drunk smile, not a joke, just this flat, vacant grin. I want to go where Marco went, he said. I dragged him back to the fire. He fought me for a second, then started shaking. threw up on the ground and curled up by the fire pit. Said he didn't remember getting up. We agreed to leave at sunrise. The sun never really came up that morning, just a dull light that made the frost on the tent fabric glow. Ryan was still curled by the fire pit, wrapped in one of the emergency blankets we'd packed but never expected to use. I shook Daniel awake. We didn't talk much. We just moved like people in a fire drill. We loaded our gear as fast as we could, only the essentials. I went to start the car, and that's when I realized it. Nothing. The car was dead. No turnover, no click. Battery was done. Daniel and I stared at each other for a few seconds before I said it. We walk. Ryan wasn't thrilled, but he followed. The service road wasn't far, maybe 2 miles. If we kept the lake on our left and moved steady, we'd hit the dirt road and eventually cell service. Then we could call for help. It should have been simple. But the path kept feeling wrong. The woods looked the same in every direction. The GPS wouldn't load. The compass app gave different bearings every time we opened it. We passed a fallen tree that Daniel swore we already saw the day before. Did we loop? I asked. No, he said. But I could tell he didn't believe it. At one point, Ryan stopped, eyes glazed over, and said, "Do you hear that?" I didn't. Not at first, but then I did. It was a low hum, faint, like a refrigerator or a deep engine buried under the ground. Not wind, not bugs, just this low, constant vibration. Daniel said it was in his teeth. We kept walking. Every once in a while, I'd look behind us. I didn't see anything, but I felt it again. The same feeling I'd had when taking a leak in the trees, like someone was behind me, watching, waiting. Eventually, we reached a fork we didn't remember. Left was downhill. Right was a tighter path. Daniel wanted to go right. Ryan and I wanted to go downhill. We argued. Things got a little heated. After a little while, we settled on going right. After maybe half an hour, Ryan was gone. Just like that. He'd been ahead of me on the path. Daniel was behind. I looked away for a second, stepped over a fallen log, and he just wasn't there anymore. No sound. No call, just gone. We yelled for him, screamed, actually. Nothing, no response. Daniel ran ahead and backtracked. I circled the area, calling his name. We never found a single footprint going off the path. That's when we started moving faster, panic fast, no plan, just get out, get anywhere but there. We ended up in another clearing, one I didn't recognize. There was an old wooden shack, some kind of ranger cabin maybe. One window was broken. The door was partly open. We went inside. Bunk beds, a dusty metal desk, old Coleman lanterns with rusted handles. It smelled like pine needles and mildew. I barricaded the door with a bench. Daniel collapsed onto the lower bunk. I checked the desk drawers. Found a pack of ancient granola bars and a map with no useful markings. That night, I stayed awake while Daniel slept. The wind was still out there, but the humming was gone. That should have made me feel better. It didn't. Something about the silence now felt worse, like the noise had been covering something up. I must have dozed off. When I woke up, it was still dark. My boots were wet. My hands had dirt on them, under my fingernails too, like I'd been digging. The bench I put against the door was moved. Not a lot, just a few inches. Daniel was gone. I panicked, opened the door, yelled, ran around the cabin. Nothing. I went back in and saw it. On the desk, Daniel's watch. The face was cracked. The hands were both spinning fast, spinning like they weren't attached to anything. I sat down and stared at it until sunrise. When light finally came, I walked. Didn't stop. Didn't look back. I found a service road around noon. Walked it for hours until a couple in an ATV picked me up and took me to the ranger station. I told them I'd lost my friends. I didn't know what happened. I still don't. From the official incident report, McHenry County Sheriff's Department, search and rescue began operations at Whitecap Reservoir on October 24, 2022. No signs of Daniel Heller, Ryan Mueller, or Marco Gutierrez were recovered. The campsite was found intact, partially packed. One tent was zipped shut with no one inside. The fire pit was cold but appeared recently used. Inside Marco Gutierrez's tent, they found damp sleeping bags and 2 pairs of socks. Marco's phone was recovered from the hood of a 2007 Subaru Outback, screen cracked, battery missing. Adam Heller's phone was located 2 miles away inside a hollow log wrapped in the fishing line. The last image taken was of the lake at night. In the lower right corner, a shape is visible just beneath the water, pale and round, possibly a human face, possibly not. The case remains open. For more scary horror stories like this, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. Thank you.